Hello, I hope everyone's doing well in this holiday season. And today we're going to be discussing Marvel Treasury Edition, a giant superhero holiday grab bag. This is Marvel Treasury Edition, issue 13. So this is one of those tabloid-sized things that used to come out in the 70s and the early to mid-80s. Marvel and DC put these out in droves. Marvel usually would put reprints in these things, and in this case, as you'll see, they would put wraparound stories around the reprints just to provide some connective tissue. DC would do that sometimes, but usually they would put out like wholly original stuff that took advantage of the format. Big splash pages, big paneling, and stuff like that. These comics are big in terms of size. Here's a regular size comic, and as you can see, the Treasury Edition dwarfs it. And these things were put out about maybe 3 times the price of a regular comic. They were in grocery stores, they were in convenience stores, they were in all sorts of areas. Usually a great gift item, so like maybe a kid would get this in addition to like a bunch of toys for Christmas, etc. In a time when most households had one TV per household, and TVs, no matter how big people thought they were back then, were kind of small. The only big screen entertainment you'd really get is movie theaters. And there was no home video and stuff at the time. I mean, it was very scarce and just starting up. And I mean, if you wanted to see these characters big, you get something like this. And these were cool because you could spread them open on the ground and just lay down and read them, read them on a bed or something like that. It's really fun stuff. When you're a kid, this stuff looks even bigger, and the art looks really, really great. That old classic comic line art and coloring looks amazing in this format. So let's begin. First of all, let's take a look at the wraparound cover here. The ribbon doesn't continue, which threw me off. I was like, is this a wraparound? But the buildings continue. So Spider-Man and Iron Man are probably smiling. Everyone's smiling in this picture. So, they're under masks. Here's Ben Grimm kind of smiling, dressed up in his best Santa Claus outfit. Thor's got a mega smile. Hulk, when he smiles, I always wondered, like, is he calm now? Is he going to turn into Bruce Banner and fall to his death here? Got Vision, got a super smiling Captain America, swinging away on some sort of railing. No, he's on a rope or something. Giant Man, Hank Pym, presumably, because this is Hawkeye here. That's Janet Van Dyne. Silver Surfer turns up in this. And, of course, T'Challa, the Black Panther, he's probably smiling underneath that mask. He's just sitting there chilling, with Hawkeye there. All right, let's break this open and take a look at this. So this is a bunch of stories, as I said. This has a nice little table of contents for everything. 'Tis the Season is the wraparound story that like dovetails into everything throughout this edition. The script was by Roger Stern. The art is by George Tuska. And you'll see there's a difference, of course, between George Tuska's designs on these characters and what you see in the comics. So it begins with the Fantastic Four having a snowball fight with the Avengers. And it's like Yellow Jacket and Beast and Jan Van Dyne and Scarlet Witch and Vision and, of course, Captain America. You can't really attack Human Torch with snowballs. As you can see, the shield comes in handy here. Thing really dings Beast here, but then Thing gets clobbered by Spider-Man. And this gets Thing thinking like, I'm not going to get mad at him here. I can't get mad at him. And then it says, they've been through a lot together. These two mere months ago, they saved New York from the threat of the Basilisk, which was something that was crossed over from Marvel 2-in-1, which is Thing's team-up title, where you team up with a guy every issue, and Marvel Team-Up, which was Spider-Man's team-up. And look at this coloring mistake. It's like right off the bat, guys. And then this is Marvel I think this is Marvel 2-in-1 or Marvel Team Up 6. I can't remember. But here's Spider-Man with someone on the ground and thing. And they're in, I think, the Baxter building or something. It turns out to be Puppet Master. Puppet Master was a Fantastic Four villain. And so he is the stepfather of Alicia Masters. And Alicia Masters is, of course, the blind girlfriend of Thing. So they have to go to his old laboratory. And while they're going there, Puppet Master explains his crazy origin. And listen, these issues have almost nothing to do with the holiday season. And they're kind of dark, but like kids were trusted with this in comics. And I don't think parents knew what was going on in these comics. So Puppet Master was working on The Secrets of Life with another dude, like another doctor. That doctor had a wife and a little girl. He was jealous of that, and he'd eat with them and everything, like at their house and all that. But he got more and more jealous, Puppet Master. So he's working on late one night trying to make the breakthrough, and his partner comes and he beats the crap out of that partner and kills him inadvertently. The guy gets knocked on the head by a pipe or something. And then the wife and daughter come to see what's going on, like why is he working late, etc. And there's a blast that I think kills the mother and blinds Alicia Masters. So he's all like torn up about that. When they get to this place, there's a blinding flash, and then Puppet Master makes his escape into a little trap door. So Thing and Spider-Man are knocked out. When they come to, they go investigate. And you find out that Puppet Master had teamed up with the Mad Thinker, which is another Fantastic Four villain. And they have a big robot thing that looks like Gort, And they're like, you know what? We've got Spider-Man Thing here. Let's trap them. So they have a thing here where... And this is cool because, this was in a regular size comic, but this looks really great in this big format here with these big panels. Spider-Man is on a oil-slicked wall, and he's about to fall to his death. There's, spikes at the bottom there. And Thing gets suffocated, which, if there's a living creature that's superhumanly strong, how do you defeat it? Well, deprive it of air, right? And Spider-Man does a sort of like Ninja Gaiden thing where he bounces from wall to wall to break his fall, and then lands in an area that's not oil slick just in time to save himself from the spikes. Alicia Masters is taken by the robot, and the Mad Thinker turns on the Puppet Master. He's about to strike him with a wrench, like Puppet Master about to strike Mad Thinker with a wrench, and he stops, and then Spider-Man nudges the wrench and with his webbing. Sorry about butting in like that, RM, but it looked like you needed a little encouragement. Know what I mean? So, Thing fights this robot with a big tree stump. This is cool too in this big format here. And where am I here? Yeah, so they defeat Mad Thinker and Puppet Master. I'm really glossing over all of this. You can read it yourself, actually. So then we cut back to the 'Tis the Season wraparound, and it's this whole thing's a charity event, I think. So they're out in Central Park or something, and Vision comes, and Janet Van Dyne's strange how the Vision still strikes some as being cold and uncaring. If only they knew him as we do. What was it Hank once said? And we dovetail into one of the classic Avengers issues of all time. Even an android can cry. Here's T'Challa, the Black Panther, going to meet with the rest of the Avengers. This is great stuff. And this was Stan Lee was editor, Roy Thomas was writer, and John Buscema was the artist. And to many, like, John Buscema is a classic, like, the best Avengers artist. Of course, like, there are like many, 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 many others. So Kirby, of course, among them. And some people think, like, well, it's Kirby's the best, right? So here we go with they are going to induct Vision into the Avengers. This is fairly like new into Vision's appearances. They still don't know where he came from really, but they piece it together here. And so they test out, like, Vision's powers, and it's all the powers that the movies themselves have done a really good job of depicting his powers. So he can make himself intangible, and he can make himself as solid as, like, diamond or whatever. That sounds bad, but but his whole body would be impervious, etc. He's superhumanly strong. Thor wants to take a crack at him. And so he could go toe to toe with Thor. And so, like, everyone's taking their turns, like, beating this guy up, and then Thor does the honors of trying to induct this guy into the Avengers. And they go through, like, other characters in the Avengers. Most of these characters are recognizable. That's Hercules. This is Black Widow in one of her more funky costumes of the 60s and 70s. That's not the Black Widow that most people know. That's Hawkeye. That's the real Hawkeye. Hulk, Wasp, Scarlet Witch. Spider-Man was never really an Avenger at this point. They made him that in, I guess, the 2000s or something. He was always supposed to be a guy that wanted to be one, but never was, and now, he wasn't supposed to be establishment, and now he is. Captain America, Steve Rogers, Thor. So they flash back to, like, Ultron had created him, how come he is the way he is, etc. Where does that personality come from? So they're investigating all this. They go to Hank Pym's laboratory, and Hank Pym had created Ultron in the comics, right? And so he got knocked out, etc. And then, so I don't think at this point he knows that turns out to be Ultron, but that becomes Ultron. This whole issue is, like, stacked with stuff. So then they flash back to Wonder Man. Now, Wonder Man used to be a villain that worked with Executioner, Enchantress, and Baron Zemo, the real Baron Zemo. And then he was infused with all these powers, and he fought the Avengers. He turned against his evil colleagues, and then he dies. But what it turns out to be is that Vision has the thought patterns and kind of the soul of Wonder Man, basically. So they figured that out, and so he becomes an Avenger, and he goes, "I shall return within a moment," right? And please excuse me. She walks off, and then Iron Man's like, "Oh, that guy, I didn't detect a trace of sentiment." And Hank Pym knows. He's like, "You can't help that, Avenger. And yet, if you saw his eyes right now, I'm sure you'd learn that even an android can cry." So he's taken aback by the emotion of being an Avenger now. So you cut back to 'tis the season again. Captain America's making his big speech about the charities and all that stuff that they're performing. I don't know. They're doing whatever for in this event. Meanwhile, Silver Surfer is flying around the Earth, and he's taken aback by the fact that he thinks that humanity is just a bunch of warring, like, factions, etc. But he's like, oh, at Christmas time, everyone's nice to each other. It's so weird, and whatever. What a pompous ass. Anyway, it's weird the way they're writing him here, but the thing is that like they have to get the stories going and provide connective tissue, right? So then he passes by the Sanctum Sanctorum where Hulk is hanging out. We'll get to that in a moment. And he sees a Silver Surfer. He calls him Silver Face. And it's like Hulk remembers Silver Face. He was Hulk's friend once, and I think this is the first confrontation between the two in Tales to Astonish. Um, so, uh, so yeah, this whole thing is them fighting. It's kind of awesome, man. Um, they fight. At one point, Silver Surfer summons his board and like smacks like Hulk with it. He leaves, and then cops come, and they're like, "It's the Hulk, get him!" And they shoot fire at him and stuff. And Surfer's like, "Well, that sucks. Here, let me rescue him." But Hulk thinks that he's being attacked again because he's kind of a dick. So then they fight again. Hulk tries to take the Surfer's board. It's all the cool stuff that like it's not just them fighting. Back in these days, they would think of cool gags and like like what are cool things we can do within the fight. And so here it is, like Hulk tries to take the board, but like of course he can't do that. I think the first Avengers movie really captured this kind of thing perfectly. It's like like what wins between Thor's hammer and Captain America's shield, right? Etc. It's like, oh, what would happen if Hulk and Thor fought? Like, and this is sort of what they're doing here. So Hulk tries to pick up a giant boulder, and he basically rips out a chunk of it, throws it at Surfer. And at one point, Hulk is like winded. He gets he falls, and I think the boulder falls on him. But Surfer's like, so what Hulk wants to leave the Earth and go to a peaceful planet, like far away from Earth, where everyone's hounding him. And Surfer's like, at this point, he's trapped on Earth. He can't leave Earth. He can't help Hulk, right? So Hulk punches him, and then and Surfer's like, screw this noise, so he leaves. And then Hulk is like, well, someday I'll go to the stars, and I mean that does happen, Planet Hulk. But so cut back to present day, and Hulk is in Sanctum Sanctorum. The reason why he's part of the Defenders at this point, Defenders was a comic team. It's pretty awesome. It has nothing to do with that Netflix TV series. Strange is like, what's going on? Like, here, come join us, man. And then they're all like, Merry Christmas, Hulk. So it's Valkyrie, the comic book Valkyrie, Nighthawk, and I think that's Clea. Which is Strange's wife. So they give him like shoes and whatnot. They give him presents and a kiss, and make him feel like special on Christmas Day, right? And they cut to I guess Hell's Kitchen, where Foggy Nelson and Daredevil there are toasting and they're celebrating themselves, the holiday season. And that's Natasha Romanoff. And so she was with Daredevil for a bit. And the Daredevil comic, I guess around this time, was called Daredevil and Black Widow for a bit. They were a team. And I think they were an item too. So here's a Daredevil issue where someone is stalking Daredevil. This is some cool art here. So Jerry Conway wrote this, and Gene Colan is the artist. That's cool. Gene Colan, of course, did I think all of Tomb of Dracula. So there's this dude. Now this dude is the Ox, and that's a character, I don't know if they use him anymore in Marvel. He just turns into a big dude. I think he's infused with radiation and mutates into a big thing that rampages around and fights guys. This is the kind of character that Daredevil used to fight before it got really gritty and sort of Batman-ish. So here he is smacking guys around. And throughout this issue, Karen is wondering if she should be with Daredevil. She knows the whole Daredevil thing, and all of that. And here, like, Daredevil's wounded, and she picks him up and has him recover on the couch here. And so Daredevil goes back at it. He has to stop the Ox from going on this rampage constantly, and he does. He fights him to a standstill. And this is all in one issue. It's pretty cool. They don't make comics like this anymore. And then he turns back, but then the Ox blows up because the radiation, I guess, is going wild or whatever. And Daredevil escapes. So at the end, Karen's made the decision she doesn't want to be with Daredevil anymore. She doesn't understand this whole life, the superhero life. So in walks Black Widow, and then they walk together. So they're walking in present day, and actually, no, they're not walking in present day. I think, no, sorry, I made a mistake here. That's Black Widow in LA. This is, I can't remember who this is. But anyways, so this is Black Widow in LA. It's snowing. That's weird. Black Widow is with Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider. Why is that, you may ask? Well, there used to be a team called the Campions, and it was, if you thought the Defenders was a mishmash, I mean, Defenders, they would have many different characters on there. Usually it was Namor, Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Silver Surfer. And then they like mix and match and stuff like that. Champions, I don't know what the commonality was other than they were all hanging out in the same college campus one day, and then that was issue 1. So they're going to investigate why it's snowing in LA. And it turns out that Iceman has made the snow as a gag, and there's Hercules and there's Angel from the X-Men, and this is the Champions. It's Angel, Hercules, Iceman, Black Widow, and Ghost Rider. Hercules, I guess, would be the strongest, followed by maybe Ghost Rider, and maybe Iceman could use his ice powers in a clever way to be one of the strongest. So they're fighting with snowballs and stuff like that, and that's the end of the entire big thing. May the joy of the season be with you and yours, now and in the year to come. So here's the back end of the back cover, and this is so these are the comics that they use. Is Tales to Astonish, 93, I think. It's Avengers 58. Marvel Team Up. It's Marvel Team Up 6, and Daredevil, I think 86. And it's like Merry Christmas, Marvelite. 2, Marveldom assembled these classic covers from the sagas presented in this holiday extravaganza. From your blithesome bullpen, 'cause we love you. Peace. So that was the Marvel Treasury Edition. And it's funny, so I said DC and Marvel both put out these kinds of things. Treasury Edition is what Marvel had branded these, and I think that's really stuck with people. They call all of these Treasury Editions. But DC Comics called theirs Special Collector's Edition or something like that. Not very memorable and kind of generic. So I think people call all of these kinds of things Treasury Editions. But this is really neat. You can find this on the back market pretty cheaply. This one has seen better days, but I just like picking it up to read it, right? I'm not really collecting them for monetary value or anything. So that was the Giant Superhero Holiday Grab Bag from 1976 from Marvel Treasury Edition 13. Take care.